Okay, let's talk about India. Back in 2014, something happened that hadn't been seen in 30 years. A single party won a clear-cut majority. And right at the center of it all was Narendra Modi, who came in with a promise to totally reshape the world's largest democracy. So the big question is, what really went down in that transformative first term? We're going to break down the ambitions, the huge challenges, and the core tensions that really defined that whole era.
Reform, perform, transform. I mean, that wasn't just some catchy campaign slogan. It was a massive promise of a complete fundamental overhaul, a promise to a nation of over 1.3 billion people that he was going to be the one to unlock its true potential. But how do you even begin to do something like that?
And that is a monumental question. Because India isn't just one single country. It's much more like a continent with all these different cultures, languages, and economies all sort of bound together. And its federal structure, well, that means that any big sweeping change coming from the top is going to be incredibly, incredibly difficult. Honestly, the scale of this challenge is just hard to wrap your head around. So to really get a handle on this, we're going to look at 5 key areas. First up, we'll explore the 2 competing forces that pretty much shape everything in Indian politics. Then, we'll see how that tug of war plays out in the economy, in the whole debate over national identity, and of course on the world stage. And finally, we'll wrap up by looking at the ultimate balancing act that it takes to lead a nation like India. Okay, so if you really want to understand Modi's first term, you first have to get your head around these 2 fundamental forces that are constantly pulling India in opposite directions. Seriously, this tension is at the heart of almost every single major political battle. So first up, you've got what's called the centripetal force. The easiest way to think about this is like a powerful pull towards the center. It's that drive for national laws, for one unified vision, and for a really strong central government in Delhi calling the shots for the entire country. And then, pulling in the complete opposite direction, you've got this centrifugal force. This is the push outwards, away from the center. It's the force that champions state autonomy, regional decision-making, and the independence of India's just countless diverse communities. And here's the really crucial part. This isn't a one-time thing. It's a constant tug of war. You've got the central government in Delhi trying to push its one unified policy, and on the other side of the rope, you have dozens of states and countless local groups all pulling for their own autonomy. Almost every single big decision gets caught right in the middle of this struggle. All right, so now let's take that idea and apply it to the economy and see exactly how this plays out. Because Modi's government, man, they unleashed some of the most ambitious top-down economic reforms India had ever seen. And the most dramatic of these, by far, was demonetization. I mean, think about this. In November 2016, with just a single announcement, 86% of all of India's cash was pulled from circulation. Overnight, just gone. The official goal? A direct assault on corruption, black money, and the whole shadow economy. Now, the government's big bet was that huge amounts of illegal black money would basically just vanish, right? Because criminals wouldn't be able to deposit it without getting caught. But look what actually happened. Almost all of it, a really staggering 98.96%, found its way right back into the banking system. This is just a perfect illustration of the risk you run with such a massive top-down action. The goals, they were clear, but the immediate impact on the ground was, well, it was severe. It totally slammed the brakes on GDP growth. It crushed the cash-based informal economy where most Indians make their living. And it caused real, genuine distress for millions of ordinary people. Okay, another huge centralizing reform was the goods and services tax. You've probably heard of it as the GST. Now, this was a move that people had been waiting for a long time. It was designed to unify India's really fragmented market by replacing this complicated web of 17 different taxes with just one single national tax. The whole idea was to finally make India a true single market. And to be fair, some of these big top-down reforms really did get the world's attention. India made this huge 30-spot jump in the World Bank's ease of doing business rankings. And what that suggests is that these centralizing efforts were, at least on paper, making the system simpler and more predictable for businesses. But the economy was only one half of the story. Just as powerful, if not more so, was this tug of war over the very soul of the nation, its identity. So the government's official message was incredibly powerful. and it resonated with millions. Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. It's a promise of inclusive growth, right? An assurance that every single community would be an equal partner in building this new India. At the exact same time, however, Modi's term in office also saw the rise of a powerful countercurrent, the ideology of Hindutva, which you can think of as Hindu nationalism. And this vision has a very different goal: to redefine India's secular identity and transform it into a Hindu nation. And look, this ideological tension wasn't just talk. The numbers show it was having a very real effect on the ground. Government data actually revealed that in 2015, the number of communal incidents jumped by 17% from the year before. And that really highlights the growing friction between communities. Now, this internal balancing act was pretty much mirrored by India's actions on the world stage. You see, the nation, which has often been described as a reluctant superpower, really began to assert itself much more forcefully. And a huge part of this was figuring out how to navigate the rise of China. As Beijing was pushing its massive Belt and Road infrastructure project across Asia and beyond, India was countering by forming its own partnerships, like the Asia-Africa Growth Corridor with Japan. It was all about creating an alternative economic and strategic bloc. And let's be clear, the challenges on the world stage were immense. I mean, India had to face a neighbor in China with a military budget that's more than 4 times its own. It had to manage the constant ongoing danger from Pakistan, and on top of all that, it had to learn to navigate a much more unpredictable relationship with the United States. Okay, so let's bring this all together. How do all these internal struggles, the economic pushes and pulls, the social tensions, how do they actually connect to India's big ambition to be a global power? When you boil it all down, Modi's first term is really the story of this one fundamental clash. It's a powerful, centralizing force coming out of Delhi, trying to reform, perform, and transform, and it's just smashing up against the messy, powerful, centrifugal reality of India's incredibly diverse states and communities. The Nobel laureate Amartya Sen captured this perfectly. He described the staggering internal divisions that any leader has to manage. He said, the challenge isn't just governing one nation, it's about bridging the gap between 2 vastly different Indias that are literally existing side by side. And that really leaves us with the ultimate question for India's future, doesn't it? To become the superpower it wants to be, does it need to finally win this tug of war and sort of tame all its diverse opposing forces? Or is the real secret to its strength found not in victory, but somewhere in the chaotic, dynamic, and ever-shifting balance between them?